Your investor list is quite literally killing your fundraise. If you're raising capital right now as a startup founder, what you probably did is what most founders do. Go to Google and search for the top funds, or you go on LinkedIn or even X, Twitter, and get a bunch of founders and a list of investors, and you just have a whole massive database of investors to reach out to. The problem with that approach is it's not strategic, it's not planned out. So today I'm going to break down why this list strategy is so bad and what you can do for better results. What's up, founders? Welcome back to Next Round Ready. I'm your host, Chris. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I want to break down what you can do instead of using this list strategy that most founders are using to raise capital, because it just does not work. It's a bad system, it's a bad approach, and it's the classic spray and pray method. You just reach out to everybody that you can and it doesn't work. Now, I put out an episode yesterday about why you need warm introductions, but outside of that, there are a couple reasons why this is very, very bad. Right? The first issue is you're just gathering a list from some AI search or maybe even Google or some random person on LinkedIn or Twitter, and you don't know if these investors are your type of investors. There's a plethora of ways that this applies to every founder, because some investors only work in a certain area in the world. Like, I know some investors who literally only work with companies who are not in San Francisco, New York, or I think anywhere in Texas, right? They're like almost middle of the country only. Like they want to find the founders who are outside of the normal circles. And then there obviously are investors who work at certain stages: pre-seed, seed, series A, series B, and so on. Then there are some that only put out certain check sizes. So if you go to them and you're raising $1 million, but they only invest $250,000, $500,000, you could be one that they work with, but most likely you're not. Sometimes that's just how it works, because some of these investors at a smaller, earlier stage only do follow-ons, right? It's so many factors go into this. That's why you can't just get a massive list of names and then just go and run with it. I learn more of this as I interview investors quite literally every day, that there's so many different pieces and nuances that goes into this game. You can never be for sure you know it all. You just can't be, because it's just levels to it in all kinds of ways. The most important being, you have to make sure that these investors fit what you want to do and you fit their thesis. This is the most important thing, and why I think the lists are so bad. Because most of the time when I see these lists, they never talk about thesis. They may talk about the stage, like if it's pre-seed or seed or something like that, and maybe check size. But outside of that, and then maybe the sector. But they'll never talk about the thesis, because this company could be a firm that invests in AI companies and AI founders, yes, but they may only invest in certain types of AI founders. It could be automation, it could be workflows, it could be future work. It's so many different things, and you have to make sure you study this part. This is where the work of fundraising comes into play, because when you sit down to make your list of investors to connect with, you got to be methodical about it. It's not just about getting as many names as possible. And you could do that. And most founders do, which is why I think the fundraising rate is so low of success. It's so low because this is how founders do this shit. Like, there's no method to it. It's like, well, I'm just going to, they're an investor, I'm reaching out. And then you go on LinkedIn, and on LinkedIn, it's so good sometimes that you find one investor, and right there on the right side, they'll just show you a bunch more. And then I'm going to connect with this one, and I'll connect with that one, and then that one. And now you're in messages on LinkedIn, just spamming every investor you can find, regardless whether they connect with you or not, whether they're actually somebody that you could work with for the next 10 years. You don't want to take that approach. This is why in my platform Compass, we have built an AI co-pilot to help you, number one, figure out the top investors that where you fit their thesis. There's some alignment there. That matters more than anything else, because if you talk to an investor that might have the same check size that you want, that you desire, and then it's in the same sector and demographic and all of that stuff, that sounds good. But if you skip over the thesis part, you can still be dead in the water. And a lot of investors, a lot of VCs take this part very serious, because to them, if you're not the kind of founder that they want to work with, they're not giving you a second look. The only way you surpass that is if you have crazy traction and then other investors are following you around. And if you don't have that demographic, like that situation, that status, which most founders don't, you don't want to take this approach. So that's one of the features on the platform. And then what we also do is we send you updated investor insights every Monday morning. Yes, every Monday. And I have to do it this way because I have so many conversations that are valuable for founders to hear. It's not even good enough for a newsletter. It's better than that. On a newsletter, that's more about real detailed information, breaking things down, being really methodical. But for this platform, it's detailed specifically to you as a founder. Would it be helpful to you if you're in, you have a consumer product, you sell cookies? If I'm sending you something about this AI investor? Probably not. But what's helpful is when I interview Liz Meislick, who does consumer investing 15 years, when she comes on the show and has insight, that's what you need to hear. And then when she's making moves and investing in other founders, you need to know who's getting the checks, what size they are, how long the process took, all of those details. You want that investor report. That's something else that you get on the Compass platform. And again, I built this after having over 100 conversations with founders and another 100 conversations with investors. It's just such a disconnect on both sides. As somebody that's able to sit in the middle of these conversations a lot, very privileged position, might I add, I appreciate it. I have learned that founders are speaking one language in one way, and the biggest problem is they're usually talking to the wrong investors. Like, there are some founders I know who have data that comes through their company because they do a lot of AI stuff, so they get a lot of data on people. That kind of founder, some of them are like, I'm not trying to sell this data to the highest bidder. So there are some investors, some VCs and angel investors that they shouldn't even talk to, because all they're going to do is push you to sell that data. They're going to push you to do something that goes against your personal morals as a founder. We don't want that. So to avoid that, that's not even the kind of investor I'm going to introduce you to. I'm going to introduce you to the angel investors and the venture capitalists who work from more of a passion project perspective. Yes, they still care about money, but it isn't the end all be all. They're not going to, screw somebody over so they can make more money. That's the kind of approach we take in this. It's more methodical. It's more planned out. And there are a ton of AI platforms available right now that I've seen them all. They spit out a bunch of investors that you as a founder can go and talk to. The problem with that is they don't connect you with the investors that actually would fit who you are as an individual founder. This is why you see me put out so many episodes with founders, because once I know you as a founder, I know exactly the kind of introduction I should make in terms of the investor side. Like, if I'm just chasing the money, then yeah, it'll be about get as many investors as I can and as many founders, and then try to do a bunch of matchmaking. But being good, for me, it's about the quality of the connection, not the quantity. Because you could just automate all of this right now and just scrape the internet with a bunch of different bots, and you'll find every investor's name and email. The difference is with me and with my platform is when I make an introduction, it's me making the introduction. So you're 10 times more likely to get an answer because I had the investor on my show last week, 2 weeks ago, or we had a call, or we were at dinner. Like, that's how I work so that you as a founder can get real, legit results. So if you have any questions about Compass or being a guest on the show, definitely just hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm active on Instagram and X too. I'm honestly everywhere. But make sure you check out Compass. It's linked down in the description box down below.